After what I think was a great draft for the Atlanta Falcons, could we see Terry Fontenot complete the entire week by trading for Jalen Ramsey, the star cornerback from the Miami Dolphins? Let's unpack this on this episode of Falcons Today. I think a good starting point is, what did Atlanta do in the draft, and do they still have a need at corner? Their first two picks were pass rushers. Then they went with the safety, Xavier Watts, which I don't think alleviates any potential need at corner. Then they took safety Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma, who they plan to play at nickel. And last but not least, an offensive tackle from Wisconsin named Jack Nelson. Now, a lot of people have given the Falcons poor draft grades. Mel Kiper did it. Dane Brugger did it. A lot of guys have. And one of the reasons why was they felt like Atlanta needed to get a corner earlier in the draft. So since the Falcons didn't, maybe a Jalen Ramsey trade could make some sense. If you're wondering if the Dolphins are still interested, the answer is yes. Here's what their GM Chris Grier said. We had conversations through the weekend with teams. Whenever it happens, we will make the deal at the appropriate time. So doesn't sound like an if, sounds like a when to me. So I expect something to happen, and it might end up being he gets released, which would be a bit strange given that you just gave him a 3-year extension back in September, and he played good football for you this past year. I still don't fully understand why the Dolphins are eager to move on from him when they were eager to extend him back in September less than a year ago. Now, I will say that with the additions of Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman, it does feel like it takes a hit to the possibility of Atlanta adding Ramsey. I won't say it kills it, though, because one's a safety, one's a nickel now, and Ramsey, I think, is going to be an outside. Ramsey plays outside corner. So in a perfect world, they all play different positions. But like we've talked about before on the channel when it comes to trading for Ramsey, I feel that maybe the future for him is played at safety. And if that's what the Falcons think as well, now that you got Xavier Watts, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to add Ramsey to the safety room. And since you re-signed Mike Hughes and D. Alford, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense to bring over Jalen Ramsey. But there's a possibility Terry Fontenot just goes, F them picks. I may not even be here next year for those picks. So why not go get a star-studded corner? And if we play really well this year and we go into next offseason and we don't have a bunch of draft capital, oh well, we had a really good season. No one's going to be upset about that. If we have a bad year, I'll get fired and I'll either won't be making those picks next year, or the other guy will be screwed. The next GM will be screwed, and that won't be my problem. So Jalen Ramsey, I think, does have some level of interest for the Falcons still, given the connection that Raheem Morris has with Ramsey going back to LA when the two won a Super Bowl back in 2021. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's episode, quick pulse check on everyone watching right now. Do you want to trade for Jalen Ramsey? If so, show me by liking today's video, scroll on down, and click that thumbs up button. Personally, I'm open to the idea, but I'm still curious. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. What does Jalen Ramsey project best at in 2025? Is it a safety? Because if so, then I don't think it makes a ton of sense after drafting Xavier Watts in round 3. I know that's putting a lot on Watts to be very, very good in his rookie season to just completely rule out a Jalen Ramsey trade. But after making that selection, I kind of want to see this through. And if you plan to play him at corner, what's the plan with Mike Hughes then, right? You're going to put your 3-year recently signed corner on the bench? Maybe you put Hughes at nickel and put Ramsey at outside corner? I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. I'm not really sure how well Ramsey would operate at nickel, given that as players get older, they usually lose some of that agility and that quickness first, and they rely more on their IQ to take them through their 30s. And there's not a whole lot of IQ needed at nickel. It's more about that quickness to stay up with guys in the slot. So that doesn't seem like a very good plan to me. If you're wondering if the move to safety is feasible, it's been done before by a lot of players. Charles Woodson, obviously one of the best NFL DBs in the game. He made the switch late in his career. Ronnie Lott, Richard Sherman, Ronde Barber, Patrick Peterson. What's the asterisk for Patrick Peterson? So Reed wants to verbalize that. He did move to safety, but it was kind of in between corner and safety between the Vikings and the Steelers. So not as deep in the safety water as Woodson guy. So here are the top 3 notable players that I could come up with that made the switch from corner to safety and had great production too. Ronnie Lott, Charles Woodson, Ronde Barber. Look at all those starts and interceptions and tackles throughout their career. So it's not, out of the blue, guys, as they get older, make that change later in their career. And if that's where Ramsey is headed, at one level, it could make sense for the Falcons. But on the other hand, the moves in the draft, they don't scream, we're going to go after Jalen Ramsey right now. But they don't kill that idea. So next up on the show, I do want to look at what a Ramsey trade could look like, just in terms of compensation. But really quickly, if you want to get your hands on a Jalen Walker jersey or a James Pierce jersey, go to chatsports.com/ATL rookies. You can get your jersey over at Fanatics by supporting Chat Sports with this link. I put it in the comments and description of today's video. So let's talk a little bit about what a trade could look like. I'm thinking a 5th-round draft pick. Obviously, we're talking about next year's draft at this point, and there is a decent financial burden a team trading for Ramsey would be taking on. I'm not going to sink my teeth into it too much because that can be so fluid, right? You could see the Dolphins eat a lot of money to get a better draft pick. You could see the Falcons reach out to Miami and go, can we talk to Ramsey's agent, please? Because we have a deal, we have an offer for you. It sounds like you like it, but it's contingent on Ramsey reworking his contract, which is a fancy way of saying Ramsey agreeing to take less money to come play for us. And that might be his best option, and he could take that option. I still think Ramsey is a solid feels like an understatement, a starting caliber player in the National Football League. And I would 100% do this trade. Sure, it's probably just a 1-year rental, and the Falcons have borrowed a future first from next year and a 5th as well to get back into to move up into round 3 to get Xavier Watts. And, 51 weeks from now, I'll be very upset with myself for saying they should do this trade. And even saying it right now, I can understand why there might be hesitation. But tell me Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes starting at corner with Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts at safety, James Pierce, Jalen Walker coming off the edge. How can you not get fired up about that and see an opportunity for the Falcons to strike gold in a very winnable NFC South that does not have some juggernaut in it, and build a great supporting cast for Michael Penix, who doesn't feel like, man, I'm basically Jacob deGrom on the Mets, where I can go out there and I can play my absolute best, but I get no support from the other side. I don't want Bijan, London, and Penix to be putting up 30 points a game, but this defense gives up 31 and the Falcons go 8-9. Ask yourself this question. Does this defense improve with Jalen Ramsey? For me, the answer is yes. The hiccup is, can you find a spot for him? With Watts at safety now and Billy Bowman moving to nickel, the need is not as dire as it once was, but you still did not add a corner in the draft. And that could be reason enough for the Falcons to pursue Ramsey. Plus, wow, imagine being Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, and you've got Jalen Ramsey in the locker room to your left. You got Jesse Bates in the locker room to your right, and A.J. Terrell is on the other side of the locker room. You're going to be a sponge. You're going to absorb so much just tricks of the trade and so many great habits to pick up, and I think that could be an awesome foundation for these two guys moving forward. So revisiting this trade idea right here, are you in or are you out? I'm in. Now, when you start talking more than a 5th rounder, wow, now we're looking at no 1st and maybe no 3rd next year. And that's a tough, hand to be dealt to build a 2026 draft class with. But for a 5th rounder, yeah, sure. What the heck, why not? You do the Dolphins a solid, you take on a lot of that money. which after what Jax did, our third blank may not want to take on more money from other people, but still, I like this idea for the Falcons. All right, Reed has a surprise for you and me. I have no idea what this is, so borderline excited / scared to find out what it is. Oh, I figured it out what it was. It is a duck race. You just took 5 viewers from the comment section? Yep. All right, everyone loves a good duck race. So, I did not pick the duckies, but send the duckies. Always love a good duck race. If I could, and maybe I can, find a way to create a YouTube channel that's just duck races, but I mean like one that people would be interested in. You know what I mean? Like coming from a specific angle. That's $1 billion idea right there. Sorry about that. Bad radio. Halfway through, Preston's got the early lead.
I figured we could do this instead of the wheel spin.
I like that idea. Someone got really mad about the 2 claps in the comment section. I didn't understand how the 2 clap could really be so anger-provoking to comment about it. The simple solution is just leave the video before I go boom, boom.
Oh my God, 10 seconds.
10 seconds to go. 1888. There's the burst.
Whoa,
Look at red.
Whoa.
Look at red with 3. Bree! Congratulations to duck number 4. Thank you so much for that very special commenter that hates the 2 claps. This one is just for you. Ready? 1, 2. Did an extra loud, I feel like, too. When I see that one person, he also threatened to unsubscribe. When I see that one unsubscribe, I'm going to know that's you. And I'm not going to.